If you've been wearing protective styles for years but your hair is at the same length and it's not growing, this video is going to hurt. Don't get mad at me, but your protective styles are not protecting you. They're actually hurting you. It's the one thing holding you back. And before you get mad, hold on, listen, because most of us, including myself, were taught the wrong way. Protection was never about hiding your hair. It was never about braids or wigs or twists, any of those things. Real protection starts at the scalp. If the scalp is stressed, tight, blocked, or inflamed, there is not one style in the world that is going to protect your hair or scalp. Hair does not grow from being tucked away. It grows when the follicle is calm, lubricated, and able to function as it was naturally designed. What actually protects your hair and scalp is sebum, and the majority of all of your protective styles and oils and butters actually block the sebum from doing what it was actually designed to do. Most of your protective styles stop the sebum from moving. They don't help it along. So let's talk about what protection really is, what it really looks like, how tension is the real enemy, and what styles you're really supposed to do your hair in to actually protect the hair shaft the way that nature intended your hair to be protected. So remember, the myth of a protective style is a myth that we're leaving in 2025. And in 2026, let's get into it. Protection is about follicle protection, moisture balance, mechanical tension, and avoiding follicle stress and tension altogether. Braids, especially long-term tight installs, they do not protect the hair follicle in any way. Even when braids are put in lightly and without tension, over time they stress the follicle. Even if your hair is growing out well for years, one day your hair will start to break and thin and snap, and you won't understand why. They don't protect the follicle. They actually increase tension. They limit natural lubrication to the hair shaft and the scalp. And often it ends up leading to different forms of inflammation and traction alopecia. The only time that braids work is when the hair and scalp are already healthy and you have a minimum tension for very short periods of time. So let's say you already have a completely healthy hair shaft, completely healthy scalp, and you're going out of town and you're not going to be able to do your hair for about 3 weeks, so you want to get braids and you're only going to keep them in for 3 weeks, and you won't oil and grease and butter the scalp. You'll cleanse the scalp with, let's say, a rose water or witch hazel, depending on your scalp type, whether you have extremely oily skin or extremely dry skin. That'll determine whether or not you're using rose water or witch hazel, and then you'll be able to take them out and follow a natural regimen. That's not what most of us do. Most of us keep braids in for the whole year, taking them out and putting them right back in. So again, if I'm telling you that protective styles don't protect the hair, what truly protects hair? Well, we've talked about it. We've talked about it in other videos. I'll leave the video link in the description box below where I go deep into sebum, but just a brief overview. Sebum lubricates the cuticle, slows down moisture loss, prevents tension during the combing process. So many people that add oils and butters and greases to their hair are constantly adding these things because they find that their hair is not properly lubricated. It's impossible to comb your hair. Well, the gurus within the Growth Cycle Blueprint and within the 7-Day Hair Growth channel can vouch for this. When the balance of your scalp is set back to normal, oil and things of that nature become a thing of the past, and you actually become overran with sebum in a way where you'll have to adjust your diet to change it, right? To balance it out. You'll be like, whoa, I produce too much sebum. So if you go from having extremely dry hair where you need to add oil to changing a couple of things around and almost producing too much sebum, there's something missing. let's keep going. So many women and men have so many scalp and follicle infections, but the truth of the matter is, most people, male and female, your practices and patterns include you adding different oils and greases and butters to the scalp. Well, guess what these things are doing? Along with your protective styles, they block the follicle opening. And so when you block the follicle opening, not only do you not allow oxygen in, but you don't allow the things that need to exit the follicle out. And this is where inflammation begins. Any hairstyle that blocks sebum from naturally traveling down the hair shaft is against your body's natural cycle, right? So you braiding your hair all the time is not a protective style. It's actually in the category of a limiting style. So the problem is, everybody's so focused on hairstyles and nobody's focused on protection. So when you say the term protective styles, the word you should be focused on is protective, but the word that everybody's focused on is styles. But let's shift the focus. The first thing that you're going to look for is something that has low to minimum tension at the root. Number one. Number two, something that causes low tension and low manipulation. Number three, easy detangling access. This is where a lot of y'all gonna get an attitude, but easy detangling access. And number four, consistent sebum distribution. So one of everybody's favorite things to do is to wear mini twists. And there was even a video that I put in before where there was a stylist. She was cool or whatever. I agree with some things that she said, but the second thing she said was that a twist, wear your hair in twists, were protective styles. And that's not true.
Braids are not protective. It's an installation style. So you're installing braids in your hair, and it's a high tension installation style. It's not a protective style. So what is a protective style? A protective style would be if you took your hair and you twisted it or you braided it. That would be a protective style because your hair is tucked away. You're not putting the weight of additional hair. I was just telling a lady at Essence Fest, she had the braids in, and I was like, putting those braids in, they were long, like, to her waist. It's like weights on your follicle. Just think of putting little half a pound weights on those follicles. Would you want that on your follicle? Even if you had to hold a 5-pound weight for a month in your hand, wouldn't your arm feel tired? Wouldn't you be like, I gotta get rid of this weight? That's what your follicles are telling you. Like, that weight needs to be taken off.
And let me explain, because I'm gonna use this for an example. At first you would say, oh, well, putting your hair in twists, it allows your hair to be combed. It allows the sebum to travel down easily, but that would be if you're a person who, let's say, puts maybe about 8 to 9 twists in your hair, and you're taking those twists apart every day and combing those 8 to 9 twists and then putting them back. Okay, cool. But that's not what you guys are doing. You guys are putting multiple twists in your hair at one time, and those multiple twists turn into locks. Look at this.
Alright, y'all, so this is the reveal. If you guess anything other than starter locks, you guess wrong. Y'all need locking back up. Got the twist in there. Boo-boo. Hey.
So first things first, you're gonna go ahead and lay them edges however you wanna lay your edges. And then I just went through and just put like a little bit of edge control right here. That was my first time trying to throw it together. I know, Mama, I told you. Yeah, that's my first time trying to throw it together. So I don't have no real legit technique. I'm gonna pull, whew, and yes, I know, time for a rinse. You be careful down there. And then I'm gonna pull that like that. So then I have this, right? And see, last time I went ahead and put another little one right here. See, that's what I did last time. But I don't know if it was actually necessary. Put it in half it another time, like this. So I think I did like this, and then twisted and brought this one around like that. So maybe I twisted this side more, then I twisted this side. Maybe I just let this side kind of rock it out and went around like that. I don't know. And did this one like that. Underneath to tuck it. Underneath to tuck it. The final look, I went ahead and sprayed my ends back here. I didn't do anything to these. And honestly, like I said, I don't remember what I did to the first time. I will try to get back to that for y'all, but I'm gonna just keep doing it like this for me because it doesn't hurt at all. It's not too tight up here, it's not too tight right here, it's not slipping, so yeah, I'm gonna stick with this one.
You just saw that, right? And that is somebody, I actually love her channel, and I think locks are amazing. But when you deciding, you can't look at certain hairstyles and just decide to use them interchangeably. No, when we're talking about mini twists and mini braids, these are styles that cosmetologists or braiders, licensed braiders use to lock the hair, because your hair is going to get frizzy and it's easy for your hair to mat. It's one of the fastest way to tangle your hair. This is why it is not a protective style. It's not protecting your hair from anything, and it's not protecting your hair from anything external. And even though the sebum will be able to flow down easier, your routines and practices won't allow. Because let's keep it real in the field, nobody is taking all of these little mini twists down every day and combing them. So are they protective styles? Absolutely not. Are they the easiest way to get beautiful locks? Yeah. Now, styles that support healthy sebum flow are not protective because they hide your hair. They're actually protective because they allow your hair to flow and breathe, and they allow for healthy sebum flow, and they allow for easy distribution. Because if you have one of the following styles, you're able to comb your hair on a regular basis without breaking your hair or snapping your hair and things of that nature, and you are able to retain length because your hair is not getting matted and tangled all the time. This will be your roller sets, your loose wraps. So I remember when I was in high school, my mom used to, or in middle school, my mom used to always get a roller wrap. So she would get roller sets, a roller set put in her hair, and then Dodie would take the rollers out, and then in all her hairstylists, they would take the rollers out, and then they would wrap her hair under the dryer. She would sit under the dryer for like 30 minutes or however long, I don't know, I was little, and then they would take her from under the dryer and then go ahead, style her hair. I don't know if she flat ironed it again, I don't know, and then there you go, right? But that was an easy way to go. And mind you, this is growing up in Detroit, Michigan, where humidity is all the way up there. So people that's like, oh well, I can't do it because when I do it, my curls bounce back and it doesn't last. Girl, you're not going to the right person. You're not going to the right person. Because if you can get roller sets and roller wraps and silk presses and all of that in Detroit, Michigan, anybody can do it. And when I was in high school, that's the only way we wore our hair. So y'all doing something wrong. Different stretching methods. Now, a lot of the different stretching methods that you guys use, I don't recommend, because it's one thing to stretch your hair, right? But then after you stretch it, what are you going to do with it? Because yeah, you won't have tension, but then you'll have breakage from over manipulation because your hair isn't stretched properly. So you still have to rake through it and break it as you're combing it out. So a lot of times we overcomplicate the different ways that we stretch our hair, where in reality you can just use a blow dryer the right way. Blow dryers have been used for decades and decades. Everybody loved the Growrh air blow dryer. I was gonna make a full video about it, I may, but now everybody's coming out of the woodwork about how the Revere air blow dryer is breaking off their hair, like I said it would, but that's for another video. Wearing your hair in ways that require minimum combing, right? So even though it seems like a 2-strand twist or something like that would be a good protective style, we have to go into all avenues of what makes a style protective. And for the most part, the only thing that's the pro is the fact that the hair stays stretched and you don't have to do it every day, but you still have tension and follicle blockage. So it's like half and half. You can comb your hair easily without any resistance. Your follicle isn't under any stress, and it's just as simple as that. And this is a part that a lot of black women struggle with, because you feel like because your hair grows out of your scalp curly, that for some reason you are one person who doesn't fall into the group of stretching your hair in any way, shape, or form. But in reality, Africa is a continent, and over the continent of Africa there are so many different tribes, and the majority of them that had long hair always had their hair stretched, and the ones that did their hair the way that you guys are doing your hair, they all have really short hair. So these are things that I really need you to keep in mind, because over time the weight and all of the blockage, it ends up leaving a toll on the follicle. So the bottom line is, braids do not grow your hair, and the oils and butters and greases that you put on your scalp do not replace the natural sebum, nor do they aid the sebum at coming down. I need you to think about it. Oils and butters are sealants. So if there's already a sealant on the hair, even if the sebum is able to come out of the scalp, it never touches the hair shaft. It's only on the sebum. So most braiders and a lot of, there's so many uneducated professionals out here, and that's the problem. The problem is not the consumer. The problem is that the waters are really muddy, and there are just as many, if not more, uneducated licensed professionals than there are educated licensed professionals. And if professionals will begin to go back to school and re-educate themselves on the human body, then things won't be so confusing. I got a comment earlier where people were like, oh, everybody's hair is different and there's so many variations and things of that nature, where in reality there aren't really that many variations. Is everybody different? Yes. Is there a huge range of variations? Not really. No, we either have high, low, or medium porosity hair, and most of the time, the only time the porosity is mixed is if you have one spot that's a little bit more damaged than another, right? And then on top of the porosity, you may have a different level of disulfide bonds within the hair shaft, right? Because there are 3 bonds that hold your hair together. The salt bond, that is kind of the main thing in the acidity in your hair and things of that nature. The hydrogen bond, which is the bond that's broken by water, and then the disulfide bond that determines how curly your hair is, right? So the more round your follicle is, the straighter your hair is going to be, and the more flat the follicle is, the curlier the hair is going to be. So those are the ways that we differ, but we have a lot more similarities than we do differences, right? We all have hair follicles, but most of our hair follicles are different sizes depending on the color of our skin, depending on our ethnic makeup. So these are the things that I really want you to take into consideration when you're looking for a protective style, because the thing that protects your hair is sebum, and there's nothing on earth that protects the hair shaft better than sebum does. Now, when we're talking about protection as it pertains to covering the hair, this is where the water gets muddy, right? Because when we talk about protection, then we go into the things that most people have demonized, like your weaves, right? There is nothing wrong with wearing a weave, and weaves can be both damaging and both extremely protective in the sense of covering your hair. right? Covering it. Not in a way of like, oh, it's gonna make it grow. No, but as a professional cosmetologist, weaves are one of the most protective hairstyles to me, and let me explain. When you have individual braids, right, you're taking a set amount of hair and you are putting that hair, you are adding extension hair, artificial hair, or sometimes it's human hair to that little piece of hair. So if you look at the difference in density and weight between the hair that you're adding to your hair, it's a very big difference, and all of the stress and all of the weight is being held on to by the hair. So your hair is not being protected. Your hair is actually just lifting weights. That's why what she said was a really, really good analogy. But at the same time, even though it was a good analogy, I disagree with part 2 on two-strand twist or braiding your own hair being protective, because it's still not protective if your patterns and routines don't match. Because at a certain sense, yes, it's protective. Why? Because the sebum is able to flow from your roots to your ends, but not if you do a bunch of mini twists. You know why? Because you're not going to want to take those mini twists out and get a mini comb and a mini brush and mini comb them. So that's the thing. But if you keep mini twisting in, maybe for like 2 weeks, that's cool. You can leave them in for 2 weeks. Then in that case, yes, twisting your hair or braiding your own hair is definitely a protective style. And this is why men are able to grow hair so fast, because when they braid their hair, it's truly a protective style. Why? Most men aren't greasing and oiling and buttering their scalp every 5 minutes. No, they go in to somebody, maybe their wife or whoever, they shampoo their hair, condition it, put leave-in conditioner in, blow dry it, trim their ends, braid their hair up, leave them alone. In 2 to 3 weeks, it's looking frizzy. They get the braids taken out, repeat, do it again. And in this case, as long as the braider doesn't use extremely tight grip, most men whose hair is a certain length aren't getting extension hair added to their hair, right? And they'll put their hair in those braids, and then they'll after the braids are in, like, that's it. And then the sebum is able to flow naturally. There's nothing blocking the follicle or the scalp, and everything's gravy. These are the things that I want you to understand. These are the things that I want you to look at, because there's nothing about braids and heavy weight on your hair that is adding actual protection. Because like I said, that individual braid is weight on that one little trim, versus if you do a weave, right? The way that the braid pattern is set up, it looks like we're just putting random braids in your hair, but really, in reality, as a licensed professional, as a cosmetologist, you learn all about the different bone structures of the hair, right? So if you come and book me with a weave, I'm looking at your scalp, I'm looking at where your weak points are and where your strong points are, and I'm making the braiding pattern dependent on those strong and weak points, right? So when I sew the hair in your head, the weight is distributed evenly around the hair, so there's no serious tension and no serious weight on the hair follicle. And this is why most cosmetologists tell you, don't leave it in past a certain amount of time. It's not because we want you to bring us more money. It's because when the weave gets older, you start getting new growth, and now that foundation is no longer intact. Now the new hair that's coming out of the follicle is holding on to the braid, the old braid. Well, yeah, the weight of the old braids plus the tracks. And now that's extra weight. The older it gets, the more weight on the hair follicle. That's the difference, right? So I'm not saying, oh, never get braids. I'm saying you can't get braids and have braids being the thing that you wear for the whole year. Like, you get braids and you take them out and put them back in, and take them out and put them back in. So these are things you really have to think about. Even the videos where you have grown women putting braids in their little girl's hair. This is the worst thing you can do, right? Think about everything that we've talked about today and what a protective style actually is, and let me know in the comments how you feel about this conversation. And are you still going to do braids, or are you ready to stop covering up? Because the reality of it is, most Black women are wearing protective styles because they really want to prevent people from seeing their real hair. And this is something that you have to think about, right? Even with my hair. So when I first came on YouTube, this is how I am. This is how I was, right? I was wearing my hair in a short pixie cut just like this. Why? Because this is easier for me. With the activity that I have in my life, I just function better with a short pixie cut, something that I can do really quick, and then I can get back to doing all of the things that I do in a day. But because of what I do for a living, I'm a person who's way better at showing you things. So I grew my hair out just to show you that it could be done, and now I'm back to how I'm most comfortable. But when it comes to hairstyling and things of that nature, you don't pick hairstyles based on what's cute. You pick hairstyles based on what your lifestyles are, what your lifestyle patterns are, based on your sebum flow and all of the different things that make up who you are and what you can or cannot actually tolerate. So if you want to learn more, right, all about how to set your scalp's natural hair growth cycle back on track, to increase or decrease your sebum production, to manage your skin cell turnover cycle, and to figure out exactly what it is, to figure out how to find a good cosmetologist, to figure out what is the best hairstyle for you, or to just ask me questions whenever you need to, make sure you check out the links in the description box below so you can join the Growth Cycle Blueprint, or you can join, or you can become a part of the Cynple connection. Let's talk more about it.